So this is a really crucial question to think about, and a really important motivation to influence how and what kinds of decisions we make now. How future generations will feel depends a lot on what actions we're taking now as to what kinds of worlds they'll be inheriting. This gets to what we call intergenerational justice. What this means is essentially a concern about the responsibilities and duties that present generations have to both past and future generations, and what the moral concerns are and finding fairness across generations. Now, there are lots of people working in this area at the moment, which is really great. Built into many international agreements is the consideration of future generations. For example, in the Paris Agreement it states, acknowledging that climate change is a common concern of humankind, parties should, when taking action to address climate change, respect, promote and consider their respective obligations on intergenerational equity. There have also been many legal cases where young people have represented their own and future generations in trying to hold current decision makers to account. For example, in the Court of Judgment of Australia, Sharma v. the Minister of Environment says, devastation caused by climate change will largely be inflicted by the inaction of this generation of adults in what might fairly be described as the greatest intergenerational injustice ever inflicted by one generation of humans upon the next. Now, what's tricky about intergenerational justice is that it's hard to hold past generations to account. We need to make sure that our leaders and decision makers now are thinking about the long-term impacts and not just the short-term rewards as they're making decisions about climate change. A helpful way to think about this is to ask yourself, if you were in a future generation, how would you like people to be acting now? You may also like to ask the other people around you that question and have a conversation about how this might change what we're doing collectively now. Now, there are all kinds of feelings associated with intergenerational justice, some of which you yourselves might be feeling as you think about the decisions previous and current generations have made that impact you. Many young people talk about feeling betrayed and angry and frustrated by the inaction or actions of older generations that have meant that we're now facing significant global challenges. Have a look at our Curious Climate page on feelings and climate change if you'd like to think a little bit more about this. Thank you, Cambridge Primary School, for such an interesting question.